Jan-Erik, please enjoy, take your time, and tell us more about Carrida, please.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Steph. So hello to everybody. Good afternoon. So for those who missed our last webinar, last presentation, I was talking about this little ALPR, ANPR camera that is standalone. So that features the complete software to do ALPR, ANPR on board. And today what I would like to show you is how easy it is to set such camera up in the field, because everything is based on a web server that runs within or inside the camera. So what you see here is purely, I have the web browser, in this case it's Mozilla Firefox, which is connected to such a camera, which is right here in the room with me. And once you just, let's say, plug into the camera, you see this screen that shows you this is more or less the navigation menu. So I would just like to go through the different points and the different steps to set up the camera together with you. Of course, I will not be able to go full into each detail. I would just like to give you an impression of how easy it is to install such a camera. And if then there are questions afterwards which go into detail, we would be very happy and be pleased to answer all your questions later on. So we'll just start with the first screen. So what you see right now is the live view of the camera. Of course, I've put 2 license plates into the region of interest where the camera is doing the reading. So in the upper left corner, you get some information. So more or less, it's the time. You can set up a timestamp then on every read, on every image. You get some system settings and feedback from the camera. Maybe the most interesting one here is the reading rate. So we have 2 license plates within the camera view, and we are at about 8 reads per second. So if I go a step further, so this just gives an impression and shows you the output of what is possible. So these were one of the last reads that had been done with the camera. And now we come, let's say, to the first information point of the settings that are possible. So you can define out of the camera, you can define different actions. These actions can be based on a read event, on a no read event, on the wrong direction read event, low confidence read. You can have a whitelist match, whitelist mismatch, and so on. And everything, all these lists and all these settings are stored within the camera. So once it's set up, the camera there's no need to be connected to a server or to a cloud software-based solution. Everything stays within the camera. You can also set up the lists within the camera. So you can have a white list, you can have a black list, you can also have a third list that is an ignore list. Then you can manually change or modify the lists. You can also upload lists that you have maybe on the server that you can then upload onto the camera. And then based on events, so now let's take an event as the read event, you can set up actions. These actions could be an FTP upload. That means you can send this to an FTP server of your choice. You can have set up, of course, a password to get access. You have different naming patterns for the file name. So you can, for example, choose that within the file name, you have the license plate string. You can set up the day, the hour, the minute, the full timestamp, a location name within the file name. So afterwards, once you will have transferred this file to a server, maybe once a day or once an hour, or based on the action, you can then afterwards quite easily find the right information, the images that integrates the reading information based on the file name. Then if you do such kind of image upload, you can just send over the string, only the reading content, or you can send over the full image. You can also send over just a cropped license plate image. You can also send over a cropped license plate image, but where you can then have a bit more image content just around the plate. So you can define yourself the cropping size of the image they would like to have transferred. Then if we go further into the settings mode, within the settings mode, normally with a lot of applications, the default settings that we've chosen, the factory default settings, are covering normally minimum 85–90% of the applications. But then if you would like to tune it, you have access to the camera settings, for example. You can rotate the image. You can use our internal brightness control feature that is definitely very useful. And then this, I would say, in 99.9% of the cases. Then, of course, we have the built-in LED. Some applications, very rarely, you would like maybe to disable the flash, so you could disable the flash here. Then we have different ways of activating the reading of the camera. Very often the application is no external trigger, so it's just doing in free run mode. But you can also have I/O controlled camera activation if you have a ground loop, or the cameras are also used in toll booth, so you may have a radar or LiDAR device that is going to activate the image acquisition of the camera. Right now it's just free running, and that's it. So it tries to read and do as many images as possible. Then within the recognition engine, of course, we have different reading modes. Most of the time, the standard mode is the correct one. Then what you see here, which is directly visible, you can set up the minimum letter height and the maximum letter height that has to be read within the image. That shows you here, minimum letter height, maximum letter height. So of course, with these license plates here, we are right in between the two thresholds. We can also change the maximum plate angle in the view. You can choose the maximum amount of plates you would like to read within an image. So here it's set up to 4. So we've seen we have 2 plates. Both plates are read correctly. Minimum contrast. You can also scale the width and the height of the characters that you would like to read. This may be important if you have a camera position that is maybe not the best or quite from a quite high angle, and then the characters on the license plate would become, let's say, not in the normal scale. You can correct this in width and in height. Then we can also set up different modes of operation in parking. So we have the parking mode. You can set up your amount of minimum detections that you would like to have before the camera gives an output for the read. So you can say, okay, to have a more robust reading, I want to have the plate read minimum twice before I send the information of a successful read out of the system. So this can also be put up to 3 or 4 to have even a more secure, more robust reading. Of course, then the speed is then of course going to be affected, but you see we still are at about 8 reads per second. That means if you want to have minimum of 2 detections per successful read output, that still means that you have 4 possible cars a second, which we all know, of course, is should never happen within a garage or a parking lot. Then you can also allow character mismatch, where normally we set this to 1. This is, for example, if you have a damaged plate, or even, depending on where you live, in winter times, just dirt on the plate, so you allow 1 character mismatch and still you have a successful read. Then within the settings, we also have the access control stage, where you can set up the threshold from where you are okay to have a valid read. Also factory setup or factory settings is a 55%. We also allow a white space matching. This is important in certain countries, for example, Germany, where you want to separate the string to know from which county or from which city the cars are coming in. You have the white space separation to be able to differentiate different plates from different counties or from different cities. Then for the storage and the output, all the images, of course, are compressed, are JPEG compressed to reduce the amount of data, and the compression level, you can set it up here. Default setting is JPEG compression of 65%. Then we have the display information that you've seen here, and also within the result image in the image. So we have a lot of output. If we go back to the live results, we see here that, of course, the output that we are giving here is the confidence level of the string reading of the plate. This is the content that has been read. The first case here is the country detection, which here, this is a Belgium plate. The confidence level of the Belgium recognition is here 54, 53%. This plate here gives us 100% confidence on the reading. This is the content, and this is the confidence level for the country detection that is telling us that this is a plate from Germany. If we go back to the settings, what we were here in the engine settings, one thing I have forgotten to tell you, you can also detect the direction of the car. So you can set up a reading region of interest and also detect the direction of the car. So you can set it up for incoming cars and exiting cars. And you can also have an alert in case a car is going the wrong direction. And then again, you can set up an action to set up an alarm or activate a digital output in this case. If we go to the configuration menu, you can set up the network configuration, you can set up the time, the clock time configuration within the camera. You have different access levels, an admin, standard user, setup user, and a viewer. You can set up different passwords for the different user levels. We have, of course, we are covering all the world, so you can have different classifiers onto the camera. You can upload new classifiers. So you can have a camera that is ready to run in different countries or in different regions, and you can just activate or unactivate classifiers on the camera directly, and you can upload new classifiers if the camera has an internet access. Then you can also have just rough information about the system itself, the different software versions that are on the camera. So this can be interesting to know if you would like to do an update, which can also be done online. Then here you also have the information about the system actions. So you can save configurations, you can import configurations. When you have configured your camera and your camera is in a certain position, you can download this configuration and then store it onto a server. And if you would like to, let's say, restore or duplicate exactly this configuration, you can just then upload this configuration to another camera, and then you have two identical cameras with the same configuration. Then, of course, we also have the documentation in the camera itself. So in case you don't remember everything that I just told you, we have the complete documentation about all the setting possibilities, configuration possibilities on the camera itself. So I think, I know this was a very quick and fast tour of the options, and I hope it was interesting, and that you've seen that the setup is very easy. So even a sales guy would be able to set up an ALPR camera. And in case you have questions, of course, today, I would be happy to answer them. And if the questions would go into or very into detail, then we would be very happy and pleased to answer them by email or by phone, of course.
Yeah, obviously this was very interesting, and looking at the responses we already have, and we are, you know, we have confirmation that it was interesting. So most questions are indeed about, you know, and they go into detail about machine learning, but also about your pricing. People want to have your contact details, so I think you did a fantastic job. And it also, looking at the clock, I think we have to make the stage 3 for NMI, and there's Peter already. But yeah, Jan-Erik will make sure to send you the questions and share your direct contact details, because I think most questions that came in are questions to answer one-on-one. But it looks like a very it was a very popular demonstration. It was nice to see that myself as well. So thanks so much for that.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be in touch, and see you next time.
See
Thank
you.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.